Many Canadians have been talking about the proposed expansion of our country's assisted dying laws. Currently, medical assistance in dying, also known as MAiD, is set to be expanded to include those with mental illness beginning in March of next year. But many have scrutinized the changes to Bill C-314 since it was first brought to Parliament. Manisa Donabalan joining us live with more on this. Good evening, Manisa.
Good evening, Matt. Just this week, Canada's MPs had a chance to take another look at the change, but they voted not to do so. Many online feel that it's going too far and that it's unacceptable. They're also asking why Canada doesn't feel it's worth it to protect its vulnerable population.
MAiD was created back in 2016. According to Canada's website, it's a process that allows someone who's found eligible to be able to receive assistance from a medical practitioner to end their life. But according to the criminal code, the process is only allowed under very specific circumstances and rules. In 2021, MAiD was expanded to include people with disabilities who aren't in the process of dying. And now, in just a few months, the legislation is expected to include mental illness as well.
So the thinking is it was unfair to focus this on physical illness only, and now it will also be focused on mental health disorders, because the kind of suffering that people with mental health disorders go through is not justifiable.
Earlier this year, Bill C-314 passed the first reading, but for some MPs, there were still concerns.
This week, there was a vote to decide whether Parliament would move this private member's bill forward and discuss it in more detail. And so we had a majority against minority, a close vote against the further study of this particular bill. With the most Liberals and the Bloc Québécois voting against the further study of this bill.
The real concern here is, are people going to be applying because of their long-standing mental health disorder, or is it going to be because they're facing such a difficult life in relation to housing, income, food security, and discrimination? And those are very different things.
Experts feel the process is being rushed since the number of people who receive medical assistance in dying in Canada has been on the rise. They say the focus should be to figure out why, instead of expanding the law even more.
Belgium and Netherlands legalized the practice in 2002. Canada legalized it in 2016. We are now already at higher numbers than in Belgium and Netherlands. And the reason is that there are specific features in the Canadian law which make it the most liberal and the most open-ended system in the world. It's clear that it's no longer treated as a last resort.
If the changes to MAiD go into effect in March, the next question is whether our healthcare system is ready to handle it. Some feel the change shows there isn't enough help and support for people struggling with mental illness.
We really need to create more supports. If and when, and it's never going to be perfect, we all know that, but if we could really bolster the kind of supports that people need, I then think we are in a position to reconsider the question of offering medical assistance in dying to people with mental health disorders.
A special parliamentary joint committee on MAiD is expected to deliver a report in 3 months on how it can be expanded to include those with mental illness.